It's no news to people who live in North America that
for some reason I ran out of
too many people have been killed by the police. It also happens in Britain. 10 years ago, this spring, at an anti-fascist demonstration in Southall, which is in the west of London, a bloke was killed by the riot police when he'd left the demonstration. In fact, he was going to unlock his car and go home, and a group of police ran down that street, clubbing everybody they met, and they clubbed him to death. His name was Blair Peach, and the next piece is for him, and it's also about the doctor who treated him in the casualty department of the hospital he went to, where he died. It's called In Memory of Blair Peach. Nothing like it, even remembered pain. When nerves win, even mind is made puppet hung from dull hands. When there's no eye, beneath the skin, beneath the tender surfaces in this hemisphere, this state there in self-last sight without senses, knowledge even becomes pain. Final broken turncoat thing, final double-agent, double-dealing thing, pain's place, pain replaces. You've known teachers, you've known New Zealanders, you've known young men with mustaches, angry young men. You don't exist, can't breathe without lightness. A flash of blood, as if forced through the space between a mirror's glass and a mirror's silver, flooding any image, any place. Quote, cerebral irritation. Sunday, church bells, boys share slick bikes, limes grow leaves like hair opening in water. My friends in rooms with books and pictures, my friends in cars with cheap wine and picnics. Does anyone, does anything know this is over? I picture his hands, I picture the doctor's hands like cat's paws, claws withheld and soft as tongue on teeth, trying kind as a dog's lick, needing for fingers, flies' feet that refuse to dent your pain's meniscus, failing. And the kind cruelty, shouting through his fingers with you out of earshot, sealed below compassion's surface, urgent, losing touch. Quote, from the way the skull was moving, it had seemed that it was split in half. This is called The Dream Where Birds Dream. Greg Dalton-Kay from bass. My name is Keith Jaffe, sound. Next up, an agent of the spoken word, Peter Plate.
To impart the spirit of rebellion is a very difficult task. And I think it is a task of all elements of this society, but in particular, it can be construed as a burden of the poet. For naked goes the poet into the world, trying to raise a slender but beautiful flower out of a shit pile. And I think the task of imparting the spirit of rebellion from the voice of a poet, one must remember that the first lesson always is adventure. Lesson number one is adventure. This life, this slow turning of the wheel, this revolution is a crime of passion for the people, young and old, girls and boys, to commit. And all it takes is one moonless night, 2 sawed-off shotguns, a long black getaway car with a driver who will not talk, and with 10,000 years of history propelling me into your arms. Believe me, honeys, I will get there by dawn. No story can end without an act of freedom, and because this story is a struggle, it will never end. This story is about San Francisco. It is entitled A Statement from Jimmy. Jimmy is a young man. Jimmy is a random agent for social change. His steady hand moves among those who frequent the territory of illegal actions branded into the public domain. Jimmy says that the 20th century is an ambush. It's a blade held to our throats, but the threat is nearly over, the knife rapidly losing its edge. At a demonstration he prepared in the cold January twilight, the 6th day of the new year, police cameras hovered close to us, adjusting their focus to begin at 0. They estimated our passion, how much and why. The crowd gathering at the corner of Castro and Market is potentially dangerous and numbering in the thousands. A man dressed in black, his eyes charred and severe, he clutches a microphone. All of us know of someone who has been shot down or locked down on 100 unknown avenues and in 1,000 different prisons across the land. But this long night, filled with our most secret dreams, is not yet over. And for Jimmy's sake, I wear disorder as the clothing on my back. The fabric stretches towards every neighborhood, a cloak manufactured in neon and glistening fog. I listen to the undertones of a faraway traffic, to the telephone lines sibilant, hissing. Jimmy, is this where I learned to speak of you at an intersection born only moments ago? Will we get past the story of tragic love affairs, the poverty of the sidewalks cursing the pedestrians above, to halt the capital punishment that begins at birth? It's a city of contradictions. Raging is the night, and white is the day, and gray is the mist that bleeds the hours lurking somewhere in between. A multitude of pale faces stems the tide at Market and 7th Streets, distinguishing themselves with bravery. The crossing against the red light, a million car horns blaring. Here is the place. I saw the clash in your green eyes. Jimmy's angry skin flushed with the dignity he always retained. Leaning over wrought iron fence posts, one after another, the loneliness growing in our arms. All elements are submerged into quietude. And Jimmy, I am still waiting for one last kiss from you. On an afternoon just like any other. The issue at stake is our yearning for love and a fear of death. We stand near the police barricades with a stiff April breeze, inviting complications. The sheer force of tears extracted from our eyes. The riot squad is poised and tense, sweating and desperate to strike. When the megaphone crackles, a sentence trapped inside, the static-laden order is given, and the mounted platoons attack. Their steel badges have been removed. 24 wickedly curved batons thresh the air. I shout, a string of spit wending from my mouth. I clutch the bottleneck of struggle, waiting for an undercover cop to fulfill an ancient promise and pull his gun on me. But don't you remember, I howl, that once upon a time, all of us as children, we played with our mothers? And meanwhile, Jimmy, if you cough, drawing my attention, will I get one more chance to appraise the Red Army faction button that you wear, glaring out from the sea of dark leather? When you and I stood in the Mason Street gutter, screaming, "Fuck you," into President Reagan's face, did you see his wife waving at us, her silhouette frozen in agony, seemingly lost inside the rigors of a Valium haze? Yes, we watched the sun and the moon fall together, plummeting into the San Francisco Bay. Nothing could escape the blatant stare, the dialogue of our scrutiny. Hundreds of voices slip away, calling to each other above the police siren whine. By the time we arrive at Polk Street, flinging bricks at City Hall, it is the 21st of May again, and our message is clear. We have undressed each other in this daylight. We are learning more to this life with every second, and should this knowledge not kill us, it will only wither away the state. Jimmy complains, "Will you let me smoke a cigarette in peace? For Christ's sake, let me smoke one last cigarette in peace." I stroke Jimmy's hair, fine and soft. In a stranger's kitchen I sit, regarding him in silence. When he totters into the living room, asking someone to fire up that Winston for him, I don't believe he deals in bitterness anymore. No, Jimmy, you are mainlining hope into every cell of your body with a needle made of the deepest fortitude. You are beyond barbed wire. However, I am elsewhere, testing the limits to my patience. I am breaking the real estate office's windows on Haight Street. I climb the chain link fence, the asphalt and dirt grinding under my shoes. Got to get away! Jimmy's fading breath instructs me, divining a fluid trance into my ears. I can hear the 3-chord sonorous thrash that we shared in dank basement rooms, spilling over with writhing limbs, women and men dancing, teeth bared in a frenzy. The singer's thin hand is raised in supplication to the ceiling, the water pipes exposed, dripping. All of this come tumbling down. Fight or die, fight or die. And when this show is over, the final note trailing off into a feedback squeal, we burst through that front door we entered, seeking the hot midnight element. This fever shall be our compass, guiding us home in groups of 2s and 3s, arm in arm, evading the police helicopter's searching beam, because we are the clandestine code, answering to no one. The march of our hearts and lungs cannot stop until the first smog-blown opening of the dawn. The bus stops, empty, looted of their meaning, shoplifted words and signifiers from yesterday and before. They are tucked into the secret pockets of our leather coats. The violence of my very small successes and the precious survival I wear around my neck. All of you here tonight, take them and drape them onto your chest. May it protect you against the emptiness where the flesh goes. The writer, the poet, the writer, the poet. The poet is the barrel of a gun, where you are the bullets, leaving the safety of my chambers for the target of our choice. Jimmy went whistling across the town, pausing to stop at the yellow brick facade of an apartment building on Market Street by an alley known as Brady. The landlord's face was a question mark in the window, wondering if he could tolerate her idea of rent. Traveling westward, he flew towards Corona Heights, the events of a decade flowing in his veins. From the top of a rock-strewn crag, Jimmy looked down at the social factory, at the cogs of the city, rotating, tossing, and turning in earnest below. But now was the time for going to work. At 6 a.m. on August 1st, Jimmy is tending bar on the 800 block of Valencia Street in the Mission District. A solitary customer punches over the Formica plane. He is sketching figures with his thumb onto the wet plastic surface. He says he just got back from combating mercenaries in the northern border mountains of Nicaragua. You have never been there. You will never go, but it doesn't matter anyway. You can smell his exhaustion, the crushing weight of his journey, and swiftly you bestow a smile upon him. Without asking, you set a fresh beer on a napkin and hand it to him. Don't worry about it, you gently chide, rocking to and fro when the stranger starts to protest. Don't worry about it. This one is for free. You clasp your hand over his, and another day begins. I know the slow flux which casts women and men into history. This text ends exactly where it begins. No story can end without an act of freedom. I love you, Jimmy, and I always will. Thank you. May I do one more? This one is of a different context. I have these cassettes that are a cassette version of a record, and this poem is on this record, and I will give you the cassette if you enjoy the poem. This poem, I'll give it to you, Michael. This poem is for Michael McInnes sitting here, as well as all working class kids who grew up to survive where they come from. The story is, again, for all working class kids, women and men in North America. It's where I come from, a town, a military town in Southern California called San Bernardino, where over the skies during the Vietnam War, the sun and the moon's passage was diminished by C-130 cargo planes going to Vietnam every 8 minutes, night and day for 8 years. San Bernardino. Boston, please tell me, will I return to San Bernardino, following the exhausted drift of palm trees as they lead to the scene of the crime? Will I return to the valley, cursed by Mormons in the year 1859, to learn that everyone is divorced and going to AA meetings twice a week? Hello, my name is San Bernardino, and I am an alcoholic. I come upon San Bernardino to understand that no one has left seeking adventure and disappointment. Jeanette is 29 years old and still living with her mother. The language of San Bernardino is the mouth of echolalia, undulating in smog, gray ripples across the split-level, phony ranchette rooftops. From here, some of you went to Vietnam, or was it Nicaragua, to be killed. But most of us stayed in San Bernardino to be buried. the caress of profanity. San Bernardino is the ancestral home to studded wristbands and peroxided hair. It's a storage tank of Mojave Desert dreams, evaporating in a wealth of used car lots on machinated E Street. When the temperature is 107 degrees Fahrenheit and the marijuana is cut with the evil dust that springs from the devil's hands, San Bernardino, I remember you. I consumed phenobarbital on doctor's orders, and social workers from Kansas ran their fingers over my empty but clean cupboards. San Bernardino, I will come back to shoot you because you did not like heavy metal and you would not let us party on our front steps. Thus, in precognitive fits, I would jerk off on church doors Saturday night, my dried seed glistening in the palms of priests. Sunday morning, San Bernardino, you should not have tried to convert me. I was too young, but you did not stop me. I sold acid to Randy, who jumped out of a car, only to be discharged from the United States Navy with a steel plate in his head. I am sorry. All my brothers died to live as sleepwalkers, but you did not stop me. I broke into the houses of friends in the middle of the night to take a bath after checking my face in the mirror for any suspicion of normalcy. Oh, San Bernardino, a city of 100,000 half-souls living on the edge of a shadow, the shadow of the sun eclipsed by police helicopters on patrol. Boston, I am not professional, nor do I perform. I am relatively visible, fresh off that boat, seething with desire and discontent. And if my birth is a debt to be paid with my life, then you can find me like so many sisters and brothers in the neighborhood. I am barricaded inside my living room with a 12-gauge shotgun resting across my lap. I gaze past the mortgaged furniture to my love. Our glistening eyes meet, and we nod in unity to the television feed back, wailing and wait for the white man's Jesus to make good on the promises that built you, San Bernardino. Thank you.